So last year, I cut a trail in my backyard. I installed signage, built a sketchy North Shore drop, and then a picnic table. The question that you guys have been asking the most is, how on earth did I get my wife on board with this? To some degree, it's just a matter of domain. My wife has full run of our living space, and if she wanted to install French Bulldog doorknobs, I would be at her mercy. But still, she's been a really good sport about me tearing up the yard, so there's no reason we can't make Berm Creek look more presentable, while having a little fun in the process. First things first, the fun.
That looked pretty natural.
After the North Shore drop, Berm Creek hooks left and runs straight to the other side of the yard. We're going to reroute the straight section up the hill to add some distance and flow. I don't want to build big berms because it's going to become a drainage issue over there. So if we can just make the track a little bit more interesting and bow out over there, break up that soil, fertilize it. We could plant some plants behind the bow or something just to make it cool, hide the drainage and stuff. To make the trail look more intentional, we're going to line it with a ton of rocks. Exactly 1 ton of rocks. Of course, the rocks need to be transported manually into the yard.
Your tone changed so fast.
Because we're at like a 45-degree angle. I'm 2 seconds away from losing traction and them all getting away from me. Remind me to build a wheelbarrow with disc brakes in a future video. While the main purpose of the rocks is aesthetics, they will settle into place and bolster the trail to some degree. I did briefly consider how the rocks would impact safety on such a narrow trail. I know people are going to be like, you put rocks on the trail and you're going to hit into the rock and you get hurt. Yeah. You know why I don't worry about that? Because mountain biking, you're just riding around rocks and trees all day. Rocks are the least of my worries. Once we cleared all the rocks out of my pickup bed, I rented a tiller to break up the soil behind the turn. A gas-powered tiller, rototiller, or whatever you want to call it, effortlessly breaks up the crust and churns up the soil. It would have taken Alex and I hours to do this work with shovels.
Is that thing driving you or are you driving it?
No, it's driving me. We were even able to mix in fertilizer for the flower bed. I also tilled the actual trail. With all the soil churned up, we could reshape it with a rake and pack it down. By adding contours and berms, we could improve drainage and make the upper sections more fun to ride. Alexander did most of the work, paying me back in sweat for all the work I did on his van. We also bought a whole lot of plants, including ferns, bushes, and even a small Japanese maple, which should grow in nicely. We dug oversized holes and added fertilizer to ensure these plants would take root. I can't wait to see what they look like after they've had a chance to grow in. For the flower bed, mulch. Lots of mulch. Most of you know that mulch helps prevent weeds from growing in your flower bed, but it also helps the soil retain moisture. Since the soil in my yard is almost entirely red clay, this is particularly important. Clay tends to crack and crumble when it dries, which means you need to keep wetting it down while packing it to ensure the soil bonds to itself. Rocks, mulch, ferns, and berms. My backyard was looking better than ever, but we need to give it all a chance to dry before riding it. The next morning, we did. This additional turn is one of the funnest additions we've added to Berm Creek. It's at the point on the trail where you have the most speed, but it's mellow enough to torch at full tilt. 3 berms in a row feels really good. The berm at the far end now extends all the way to the next turn, creating a new line. Do you think it's going to slide? You may recognize this ramp from another video, which I'll link to below.
Yeah!
As we experiment with different lines around Berm Creek, we may decide to dig them in and make them permanent. One of the biggest things we accomplished was making Berm Creek fun to ride in either direction. You can even start at the North Shore drop right up Goodman Ledge, and then drop back into the bottom in one shot. All in all, we used 1.5 tons of rock, 1.5 cubic yards of mulch, a 5-foot pickup bed full of plants, 6 bags of fertilizer, a 24-hour rental on a rototiller, and 2 days worth of labor. The cost was under $1,000, which is pretty impressive for a landscaping project of this magnitude. My yard looks better than ever. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you may mistake this for a walking path and a really unique picnic table. I hope this gets the gears turning for some of you guys, as I'm sure there are ways of building stealth backyard trails that totally blend in with your patio. What types of things could be built in a normal yard that nobody would recognize as a mountain bike feature? I'm excited to see what this community comes up with. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.